I never used to believe in curses or haunted objects until that fateful Valentine's Day, when I stumbled upon an antique shop nestled in the heart of the city. It was a quaint little place, filled with trinkets and treasures from eras long past. With Valentine's Day looming, I was on the hunt for the perfect gift for my beloved Emily. Little did I know that my quest would lead me down a path of terror and despair. As I browsed through the shelves, my eyes were drawn to a small, ornate box tucked away in a corner. It was crafted from dark wood, intricately carved with symbols I couldn't quite place. Curiosity getting the better of me, I reached out and lifted the lid. Inside, nestled among faded velvet, lay a single blood-red rose. Intrigued, I picked up the rose, marveling at its beauty despite the dried, brittle petals. As I examined it closer, a shiver ran down my spine, and I felt a sudden chill in the air. Ignoring the unease gnawing at the edges of my mind, I made the impulsive decision to purchase the mysterious box and its contents, convinced it would make the perfect Valentine's Day gift for Emily. That night, as Emily and I celebrated our love over a candlelit dinner, I presented her with the antique box. Her eyes sparkled with delight as she admired the craftsmanship, but I couldn't shake the feeling of foreboding that lingered in the back of my mind. As the evening wore on, strange occurrences began to unfold. The lights flickered inexplicably, casting eerie shadows across the room. Emily's laughter turned to nervous unease, and I found myself growing increasingly agitated as the night wore on. It wasn't until we retired to bed that the true horror began. As we lay entwined in each other's arms, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the darkness. Startled, I leaped out of bed, heart pounding in my chest, and raced towards the source of the sound. What I found chilled me to the bone. The antique box lay open on the bedside table, its contents scattered haphazardly across the room. Emily stood in the center, clutching the blood-red rose in trembling hands, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't mean to," she sobbed, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't know what happened." Confusion and fear gripped me as I tried to make sense of the chaos unfolding around us. But before I could utter a word, a wave of dizziness washed over me, and I collapsed to the floor in a heap. When I awoke, Emily was gone, leaving behind nothing but a trail of crimson petals in her wake. Desperate to find her, I scoured the city, searching every corner and alleyway, but she was nowhere to be found. Days turned into weeks, and still, there was no sign of Emily. I was consumed by guilt and despair, haunted by the memory of her terrified screams and the blood-red rose that had torn us apart. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I received a mysterious package in the mail. Inside was a single blood-red rose, its petals stained with fresh blood. A note accompanied it, written in a hand that sent shivers down my spine. "You cannot escape the curse," it read. "Embrace your fate, for it is already sealed." Terrified and alone, I realized too late the true horror of the antique box and its cursed contents. No matter how far I ran or how hard I tried to forget, the blood-red rose would always find its way back to me, a sinister reminder of the love I had lost and the curse that had torn us apart. Valentine's Day was supposed to be a celebration of love, but for me and my partner, Amelia, it turned into a nightmare we would never forget. We had made reservations at a quaint little restaurant downtown, eager to spend the evening lost in each other's company. Little did we know that our romantic dinner would soon descend into a living hell. As we arrived at the restaurant, the air was thick with anticipation, couples strolling hand in hand, their laughter mingling with the soft strains of music, drifting from within. We exchanged a knowing smile, excitement bubbling in our veins as we stepped through the ornate doors and into the warm glow of candlelight. Seated at our table, we reveled in the intimacy of the moment, savoring each other's company as we shared stories and laughter over glasses of wine. But as the evening wore on, a sense of unease began to settle over us like a dark cloud, casting a shadow over our perfect night. It started with a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a feeling of being watched that sent shivers down my spine. I glanced around the restaurant, searching for the source of my unease, but all I saw were smiling faces and flickering candle flames. Amelia must have sensed my discomfort because she reached out and took my hand, her touch warm and reassuring. "Is everything okay?" she asked, concern etched in her voice. I nodded, forcing a smile as I tried to shake off the feeling of dread that lingered in the back of my mind. But deep down, I knew that something was terribly wrong. Just as we were about to order dessert, a sudden chill swept through the air, extinguishing the candles and plunging the restaurant into darkness. Panic gripped the patrons as screams filled the air, chaos erupting all around us. In the darkness, I caught a glimpse of something moving, a shadowy figure darting between the tables with unnatural speed. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized that we were not alone, that something sinister lurked in the shadows, waiting to strike. Without hesitation, I grabbed Amelia's hand and pulled her towards the exit, desperate to escape before it was too late. But as we reached the door, a guttural growl echoed through the darkness, freezing us in our tracks. I turned to see a horde of demons emerging from the shadows, their eyes burning with an otherworldly fire as they descended upon us, with a ferocity that sent chills down my spine. With nowhere left to run, we stood our ground, facing the demons head-on as they closed in around us. I could feel their hot breath on my skin, their talons scraping against the cold metal of the door as they reached out to claim us as their own. In that moment, I knew that our love would be our salvation, our bond stronger than any demon could ever hope to break. With a fierce determination burning in my heart, I stood tall beside Amelia, ready to fight for our lives until the very end. As the demons lunged forward, we fought with all our strength, our minds consumed by a primal instinct to survive. But no matter how hard we fought, it seemed as though the darkness would swallow us whole, our screams lost in the chaos of the night. Just when all hope seemed lost, a blinding light filled the room, driving back the shadows and banishing the demons from our midst. Gasping for breath, we stumbled out into the night, our bodies battered and bruised but our spirits unbroken. As we emerged into the cool night air, we clung to each other, grateful to be alive and together once more. And as we made our way home, hand in hand, I knew that our love would always be our greatest weapon against the darkness that threatened to consume us. Valentine's Day was always a special occasion for me and my partner, Elena. We relished in the romance of it all, the intimate dinners, the exchange of heartfelt gifts, and the whispered promises of eternal love. But this year, something sinister lurked beneath the surface, waiting to shatter our perfect world. It all began when I stumbled upon an old bookstore nestled in the forgotten alleyways of the city. The shop was a labyrinth of dusty shelves and ancient tomes, each one holding secrets untold. As I perused the aisles, my eyes were drawn to a weathered leather-bound book tucked away in a corner. Intrigued, I reached out and brushed the dust from its cover, revealing the title, The Book of Eternal Love. My curiosity piqued, I flipped through its pages, only to find them filled with cryptic incantations and forbidden spells. Despite the warnings echoing in the back of my mind, I couldn't resist the temptation to possess such a powerful artifact. Ignoring the unease gnawing at my conscience, I purchased the book and hurried home, eager to share my discovery with Elena. That night, as we sat curled up by the fire, I presented Elena with the ancient tome. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she traced her fingers over the intricate symbols etched into the cover. Little did we know the darkness we were about to unleash. As Valentine's Day dawned, Elena suggested we try one of the spells from the book, a ritual promising everlasting love and devotion. With hearts pounding in anticipation, we followed the instructions to the letter, chanting the incantation as the candle flames flickered and danced. For a moment, it seemed as though nothing had changed. But as the hours passed, a sense of unease settled over us like a thick fog. Our love, once pure and true, began to twist and warp into something dark and malevolent. Strange occurrences plagued our home, objects moving of their own accord, whispers echoing through the halls in the dead of night. And then there were the roses. Every morning we would wake to find blood-red roses scattered throughout the house, their thorns dripping with crimson. No matter how many we disposed of, they would always return, a sinister reminder of the curse we had unleashed. As the days turned into weeks, our love began to wither and decay, replaced by suspicion and paranoia. We fought constantly, each word laced with venom and spite. And still, the roses continued to bloom, their petals stained with the blood of our broken hearts. Desperate for answers, I returned to the bookstore in search of the mysterious shopkeeper who had sold me the cursed book. But when I arrived, the shop was gone, vanished into thin air, as though it had never existed. With nowhere else to turn, I delved deeper into the pages of the book, searching for a way to break the curse that had consumed us. But the more I read, the clearer it became that there was no escape from the darkness we had unleashed. In a last desperate bid for salvation, I performed the final ritual outlined in the book, sacrificing everything I held dear in the hopes of breaking free from the curse's grip. But as the flames consumed me, I realized too late the true cost of meddling with forces beyond my control. As I lay dying, consumed by the flames of my own making, I caught a glimpse of Elena's tear-streaked face, her eyes filled with sorrow and regret. In that moment, I knew that our love had been our downfall, a wicked embrace that had led us down a path of destruction from which there could be no return.